Hello, I'm here with Andy and Craig, co-founders of GameGlass. GameGlass basically make this sort of immersive diegetic app that allows you to control games in a more intuitive way. It turns touchscreen devices into controllers. The app has premiered with Star Citizen support. It's available in both free and more premium flavors. And today I wanted to sort of touch on some frequently asked questions and the future of GameGlass and its support with Star Citizen and potentially some other games. But first, can you give me a brief rundown of GameGlass and how it started?
It all started when Craig posted an image to Reddit almost exactly a year ago, maybe a long time ago anyway. And it was just an image for a Star Citizen MFT. It looked like he'd taken a screen out of the game and he was proposing to put it on your desktop and you could control parts of the game from that. And within 24 hours, it had kind of blown up on Reddit in the community. And I reached out to him kind of during all of that. I joined the Discord server that had started up. And we just started talking about, why it was so amazing and where there could be some really interesting opportunities to kind of build it out. Separately to that, I'd had a little bit of an idea for similar kinds of things, but built as a platform where there'd be multiple games on that platform. And we decided to team up, and we teamed it up to make it GameGlass and to kind of focus on exactly as you say, and kind of making these really diegetic interfaces that were immersive, that felt like they were taken out of that world and put on your desktop. And you could touch them and interact with them and feel like it was part of the game. It could have shipped as part of the game. And that's always been a really important part of it for us. And we've taken that as a philosophy, both from a design perspective and for the products that we build and the shards that we build, and how we go about the process of designing what we want to create for each game. That immersion aspect, that diegetic immersion, that intuitiveness, that has been a really important part of what we've been trying to build.
So you do have, as you mentioned there, a shard system. There's free flavors, but there's also more premium flavors. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
GameGlass started out of the community. And one of the things we really wanted to make sure we did was that we had some really great products and it was actually the original screen that Craig showed for Star Citizen. That screen has gone through many iterations of polish, and that's one of the free screens now. So that very first thing that he showed everybody, you don't have to pay for that. That's there and it's out there for free. So our plan is that for every game we support on GameGlass, there'll be at least one free shard for that game. Sometimes more. For Star Citizen, there's quite a lot more. I think there's 4 shards for Star Citizen that are completely free. And that's always been part of it. And we really wanted to let people grab those and kind of give something back to the community who helped us get to where we are now. But then obviously we need to support ourselves. We have a large team of people working on it at this point. So we have the ability for people to buy a shard outright. If you like a shard, you can just buy it and own it forever and never pay anything again. And you'll get all the updates for that shard as that shard evolves. And we anticipate that a lot of our shards will evolve over time as the games we support change as well. We will add features, we'll tweak the artwork, we'll kind of change some things under the hood. You'll get all those updates. If you buy a shard outright, you'll get them all. But we also wanted to give people the ability to just grab everything. So we have what's called a glass pass, which is basically you get all the shards for all the games and a few extra little kind of fun perks. And you can get that kind of for a month, for a year, for 6 months. And you just buy a chunk of time and you can access everything on the platform.
Say I'm quite thrifty, because I am. What will the sort of like free version users, what will they get going forward? Will they get more updates, more features? Can they expect new stuff and sort of like updates? Or is it more for just the premium model that people can expect more?
Anytime we update a shard, they'll get those updates too, if it's one of those free shards. And that's very likely, especially for a game like Star Citizen, as it's so rapidly evolving and being built. It's very likely that those free shards will be updated as well, and free users will get all of those updates. And that will be the case with any shard that we put out there for free. We're always tweaking some things under the hood to add some new platform capabilities that are about the GameGlass platform. We're always looking at the games and thinking about how we can add some new features to the shards. And if that applies to free shards, then the free users will get all of that as well.
We actually, since we launched in July, we have updated the free shards quite a bit. One of the things we did was, I believe they introduced ship hailing. So one of the things we did was we modified our footer section. So you had a section that included these new features, including ship hailing. So we're always adding little features like that to stay up to date with the game and just deliver the best experience we can.
That's right. I remember when they changed the flight model in 3.5, I think it was. We went back and changed the flight shard, which is one of our free shards, and sort of changed the way ESP and they would change Afterburner, and they kind of tweaked all of those things. So we went back and changed some of the labels on the buttons, but also changed the functionality of some of the things on that flight shard as well to match the new flight model.
So I suppose you have to constantly be reviewing the what controls are available, how the game is evolving and changing. Obviously, changes to the flight model, even minor changes, could quite heavily change your software.
And that's one of the reasons why we've kind of taken the business approach to it. Is it's not here's a shard, we're building it today, and in a year's time it'll be junky and it'll be old and it won't work and it'll be broken. That's not the approach we want to take. We want to be able to do this sustainably, and we want it to be a really high quality thing that you can just pick up and use. And that requires us to be, very, very on top of all of those changes. We pour through all of the patch notes anytime we kind of detect something that would require a change in a shard. We're all over it. And that will only kind of get bigger as they release new game systems. That's the big thing that we're really waiting for. As soon as they release details for how salvage will work, or how medical will work, or even something like Craig and I were just talking about today, things like personal and physicalized inventories, how that might affect shards. All of those things will kind of go into how the platform evolves, and all those updates will come out over time.
Can you tell me some more about your Star Citizen support? As it is now just a very brief rundown of its shards, but also really I want to know about its future plans, what you've got planned for the near and slightly longer term future for Star Citizen support.
So why don't I talk about what we currently have, then I'll pass it over to Andy to talk about what we have planned. So basically right now for Star Citizen, you can access all of your flight controls, which includes a bunch of fancy animations and access to all the controls that you typically need to fly your ship in Star Citizen. We have a ground vehicle shard, which will be updated as more ground vehicle features are added to the game. And then we've got a combat shard, which has a targeting array that allows you to have quick access to select all your different targets in Star Citizen. And we also have shield and power distribution shards, I guess you could call them, sub shards. And what they allow you to do is modify your shields and power in game with your tablet. It actually, you make a change on your tablet and it will dynamically reflect exactly what's happening on your tablet in the game. So instead of having to hold F and go down and modify your power to engines, you can actually just hop on GameGlass and then just use your finger and do the exact same thing, and it'll modify it in game, so you don't need to get distracted. And then we've got a social shard, which has all of your emotes, the ability to capture screenshots, a gallery of all your screenshots, all your director controls, and everything else.
And more of the future plans and stuff that you've got in the works?
So that's where things get really interesting. So we have one shard coming up very soon called Discover, and that's it's a interesting shard in that if you buy Discover, and it comes with ClassPass, but if you buy it as well, if you have Discover, you get it for every game. So it's not intended to be just a Star Citizen shard. We've designed and we're building a version for Elite Dangerous, which we'll talk about later on. We'll have a version for many of the games that we support on the platform. Maybe not every single game, but for many of the games we support. So that one's coming up really soon. And Discover's designed to help you find things to do inside of the game. So it might be that you've heard about the Javelin Wreck in Star Citizen, but you're not quite sure how to get there. So it'd have a little guide for how to get to the Javelin Wreck in the Discover shard, or how to hack down your crime stat rating, or where to find ship jacket armor, or anything that is helping to surface things to do inside the game. That's kind of where we see Discover being really valuable. And for a game as rich and as wide and as deep as Star Citizen can be, and will only get more so in the future, surfacing those kinds of things is really important for everybody.
So how are you going about digging into that content? Because are you going to be writing the content for yourselves? Are you scraping it from content creators? Do you have a list of people you're using? How's that going to work?
Funny you should ask that. Excellent question. So we've got two things we're doing for that. We will produce some of the content ourselves, but we are also planning to partner with some content creators. like yourself perhaps and a few others, where they'll be able to put some content into Discover straight away, and it'll come straight from their normal platform. So they'll be able to embed a video, and it'll be a video straight from YouTube. They'll be able to put their own images in there. We've got a CMS that we're creating behind the scenes, so they'll be able to create their own content themselves via the CMS, and then it'll link out obviously to their own platforms, to their audiences. So we plan to fill it with content that is curated and is really kind of well targeted and really high quality for everybody to use. And it will include things as well that we think are relevant to the audience too. So it might be an instructional video on how to do dogfighting with dual sticks. It might be, what decisions you should make about choosing between two ships, for example. So anything that's kind of to do with the game that helps people get more involved and immersed in the game, it's that kind of content.
I should note as well that we do plan in the future to allow users to actually upload their own content to Discover. And it'll just be on a rating system, kind of like you'd see on Reddit with the upvoting and everything like that, to keep the content high quality. So we're planning on allowing users to also upload their own content and guides in the.
We see that being a good way, for example, for orgs to create their own essentially educational content that they might want to distribute to their org mates via Discover, kind of collating it all in one spot, kind of making it nicely accessible. Not that you couldn't do the same thing on YouTube, but it's a nice kind of more immersive way to do it. So that's Discover coming up. We also have a shard that we are currently selling right now called the Mining Shard. So there's some work still to come for that one, where we'll be releasing a nice navigatable, sortable, filterable table of in-game resources and minables, along with maybe some trading information on where you can go to sell it. And hooked up to that same system is another shard called the Ship Databank, which is a really interesting, again, filterable, sortable list of all the ships in the game and all of their key stats. And it actually has some really interesting tactical uses as well. You might be off on a mission where your mission is to kill an anvil, a certain ship, a terrapin maybe, or a gladius or something. And you could really quickly duck into the Ship Databank to find out some key stats on that ship. How many hard points does it have, and what size are those hard points? How fast does it go? How big are its shields? So that could be really a really interesting way to get some information on in an offensive way, or if you're being attacked by someone, maybe from a defensive tactical perspective. How many turrets do they have? Excuse me. How many turrets do they have on the back of the ship? Is that a better place for me to try and hide? So there are some really interesting uses in the game as well. That one it's in development now, but there is a really interesting approach to the data we want to take for both of those components for the shards. We want to make the data that we're building very extensible and accessible, and we want to make it give everyone the ability to be able to contribute to modifying that data as well. We're never going to, as developers, we're never going to be able to build a system where we have to, by hand, go to every station in the game, especially as it gets bigger and bigger and there's more star systems in the game, and input the trading prices of every single resource in the game. It's just not scalable, and the product won't be accurate. Even if we did try and do the work, the data won't be accurate because we just can't do it fast enough. So we want a really easy way for a user to be able to, using the shard itself, say, I've just been to this station that had the ship jacket armor there and it was this much. Or I could sell this resource at this station and I could sell it for this much, and drop it into the shard that way, both for their own record keeping, and then everybody else gets access to that data as well.
So talking more about sort of like ergonomics, how customizable are each of these individual shards then? Are they pretty static, or is there a lot of customization I can do to them?
That's a really big topic for us right now. It's one of the most requested, I think it is the most requested feature, is just, can I customize things? Can I change the commands? Can I change the graphics? Can I change the layout? So we have a quite an aggressive customization roadmap that we're looking at. It'll come as all games development does, as anything kind of tech related, it will come in stages. It won't come all at once. But we're definitely building staggered development. Don't say that word. It will come in stages. The first stage of that will be the ability for you to change the commands for your shard. So you might say that maybe you use a different key binding. You might be able to edit the key binding. You might be able to attach a different command to a wildcard button. So you want to say there's a button here, we leave it blank, and you can bind whatever you want to that button. So that's the first stage of things. We already have the ability, though, for you to change the colors for your shards. You can pick from some themes that we've predefined for you. So if you don't want the kind of the bluey green that we've got, you can change it to red or a blue, a darker blue. Very soon, we have the ability for you to create your own colored theme. So you can create a theme that is just your org colors or just the RGBs on your PC. So you'll be able to customize your own color themes. You'll be able to customize your own commands soon. And we're building to a point where we definitely want to let people customize their own layouts as well. That's something that's coming a little bit further down the road, but we're definitely building both the ability for people to customize shards that we give them, and potentially down the road for them to be able to do a little bit of shard creation themselves, perhaps.
So we are basically just going to see, when it comes to Star Citizen support, you will just evolve with the new mechanics that come online and add more and more shards as appropriate.
Yeah, I think we really want to make sure that part of what I think works really well with GameGlass is when the shards that we make are beautiful and immersive and they're detailed, and we've paid a lot of attention to thinking about what the roles are for those shards. It's not just pack all the keybind commands onto a single grid of buttons. It is much more, it is thinking about what's a combat shard and what's a flight shard and what's a medical shard, and how do we design those and make those interactions immersive and intuitive. So that's something we will always pay a lot of attention to, and we'll always be producing those shards. But sometimes people just want just a simple, flexible shard that they can customize on their own, and that's something that we're looking to create as well.
So Citizencon 2949 or 2019, as the real year is, do you have plans? Are you attending?
Craig, you're the Citizencon planner.
Yes, Yep. We got confirmation about a week ago, maybe a little bit more, that we will have a booth at Citizencon. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be great meeting everybody and talking to some CIG employees and everything like that. So yeah, no, we're really excited. We will have a booth at Citizencon this year.
Is there anything else you can talk about that? Is there anything secret or special happening, or is that too secret, too special? I can tell there's something, but you're just not telling me.
Both secret and special. Obviously, there's things we can't talk about for what's going on for Citizencon, but look, we definitely plan to make it something that kind of gives people that are attending the show something to do and something to see while they're there. So it won't just be some brochures. People will be able to actually use GameGlass. We're planning to have some new things to show. We'll be announcing what those new things are a little bit closer to the event, but we definitely plan to have some cool things to get your hands on when you're there.
So a question that I constantly get asked about GameGlass is, what games is it going to support in the future? So what's your plans with that?
Well, right now we are working on Elite Dangerous. We've been working on that for a little bit now. That's definitely our next game, and we've got some really cool stuff coming out with that. Beyond that, I believe, I don't know how much we've really talked about it to the general public, but
it's a perfect time to reveal it here. Come on, give exclusive.
Look, I think at the moment we're focused on Elite Dangerous. At the moment, it is all about the good thing about Elite Dangerous is a lot of the lessons we've learned about what makes a shard immersive and really usable we're applying to Elite Dangerous as well. So it has a different, quite interesting aesthetic and some interesting kind of use cases that separate it from Star Citizen. But there is a lot of overlap there, and obviously we think that a lot of the people that play Star Citizen are likely to also play Elite Dangerous. So there's a lot of value we can kind of give people, especially our GlassPass users who kind of get it all. So that's where we're focused on right now, is really building that out to be as beautiful and immersive as all our other shards. There'll be some new things for Elite Dangerous announced quite soon as well. So for launch for Elite Dangerous, we'll have a flight shard and a combat shard, and both of those are free. So you'll be able to pick those up completely for free. But one of the really interesting things that you can do with Elite Dangerous is they provide a really great data log behind the scenes that is accessible via an API or kind of via your own kind of readers on the data reader on your PC. So we can actually get a lot of data out of the game. It's not a direct hook into the game's API as such, but it does give us access to the data in a way that we just don't get with Star Citizen. So one of the things we're going to be doing is letting people if they would like to, they can buy a special data integration to add to the Elite Dangerous shards. And they will add some interesting information to the shards that you get for free. So you'll be able to see, for example, some information on the target you have selected, what rank they are, what ship they're flying, the status of their ship perhaps, where you are, what system you're in, how much credits you have, the ship that you are flying. So there's a bunch of really interesting data we can get out of that log file that'll be part of Elite Dangerous. And we're really excited to be working on a game where we can make the shard a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more hooked into the game itself. So obviously Elite Dangerous is where we're focused on right now.
And if CIG's listening, I take a look at that integration, and we could use something like that for Star Citizen.
There's the potential and highly likely to support other games in the future as well. So, and is this support potentially going to be other games that aren't just space sims?
Yes. So we are, I suppose, our shortlist. Look, let's talk about our shortlist.
Perfect.
And people have seen the roadmap that's on our website. Yet they can see the breadth of games we're intending to support. So our shortlist for immediately after Elite Dangerous is No Man's Sky and World of Warcraft. We think we've got some really great ideas for nice, beautiful, immersive shards for both of those games. Obviously, completely different games. No Man's Sky would have some overlap fairly closely. World of Warcraft obviously is quite a different game, potentially a very different audience. But again, for both of those games, we're focused on how can we give people an experience that feels immersive, feels like it's part of the game, but is adding to your experience of playing the game, that is removing some of those friction points between you and being in that world, between you and playing that game. So those are the two games that we're thinking very, very closely about immediately after No Man's Sky. But it is essentially any game where we can solve that problem of not necessarily always controlling the game, but definitely making you feel like you're more immersed in the game and you have a more intuitive connection and a lower friction connection with that game. So anything where a lot of the game controls perhaps are obfuscated behind complex menus, or some of the information you need to know about the game is not intuitively surfaced for you, we can solve some of those problems. And in doing so, we can make the game easier to play, but we make it feel more satisfying to play as well. So those are the games we really paid a lot of attention to. And that can be anything from Path of Exile, we have some interesting ideas for. It can be Euro Truck Simulator, Subnautica, Terraria. So there's a really wide range of games where we can apply those same kinds of goals to and get some really interesting, compelling results.
Are you working at all with CIG or any of the other developers / publishers of the games that you've mentioned? Are they helping support your endeavors with GameGlass? How does that sort of work? Is there any legal issues or anything?
No legal issues. We're very, very careful not to use any of their assets. We don't use any of their images. We don't use any of their sound files. We don't modify any of the game files at all. So always very, very careful and respectful of their intellectual property and the way they want to draw the boundaries around their games. At the end of the day, if a developer would say to us, look, we don't want you to give this capability to a user, then that's something we'd be very, very careful of and aware of. So there's no legal issues with what we're doing. There's nothing outside of terms of service or anything else. We have had some really interesting conversations with a couple of developers. Probably can't say who they are, but of some really interesting games where again we can help solve some of those immersion and friction problems for them. So definitely some direct conversations with people that have been really interesting, and more of that will come very soon. CIG is a different beast entirely. They've got they're so focused on building the game right now. They're so focused on getting through their development, and very rightly so. I think if people were to see them getting distracted with this kind of thing, I think they'd perhaps look a little bit askance at it. I have no doubt that in the future, some of that might change as some of the game systems become a little bit more mature and settled in. Perhaps that would be the right time for them to look at their API and look at how they could get to these kinds of things. If not work with us directly, certainly do more to enable these kinds of things. Because it only benefits the game, it only benefits the community and the people playing the game. So at the end of the day, it's a win for everybody, but not today, not quite yet.
To answer your question, no, we are not working directly with CIG. We have talked to them here and there, but we are not working directly with them on anything GameGlass related, other than getting our booth set up.
We have heard from little birdies that perhaps a couple of them do use GameGlass, which was super cool to hear.
In my notes, I have Hyperspace Narwhal written down.
Ah.
Please tell me why this is written down in my notes.
we just like people saying the word Hyperspace Narwhal together. It's just a great combination of words.
Get to the next question then.
No, Hyperspace Narwhal is a mini game that we're putting into GameGlass. So actually, and it's actually been quite a highly requested feature. Is there a mini game we could play? A mini game would be so cool for us to be able to play on those long ass quantum jumps from Olisar to Hurston. What can we do? Just it'd be so fun to be able to play a little game just while we're flying around, waiting for friends, whatever. And it's totally true. And on one hand, it's a testament to the kind of the depth and the size of the universe, but it's also a bit of an indictment on, quantum travel is not the most exciting thing to do right now. But every game has those little moments of downtime where you're flying on a griffin in World of Warcraft for a bit, or you're waiting for a friend to log in, whatever. So Hyperspace Narwhal is a super fun little side-scrolling arcade shoot 'em up. It's a narwhal, and its horn is a replaceable laser weapon. I don't think I need to say anything more than that. It's super rad, it's ridiculous, and it's really fun.
Will there be high score boards online?
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that. Absolutely, there will be. There'll be your personal high score, and there will be a community-wide high score board for everybody that's on GameGlass.
Are there any issues that you're working through with GameGlass at the moment? So, I mean, I know that it's a constant development and you're going to keep on adding stuff, but is there like something more pressing? Like, is there perceivable lag when you press a button that you're trying to improve, or is all going well?
I think one of the things we're trying to improve right now is just how keybinds are handled. It's not the greatest experience having to use our preset keybinds because we like, obviously we're doing this big push towards user customization. So one of the things we're working towards is the ability to select your own profile from a list in the GameGlass host software. And basically it'll prioritize your keybinds over our currently set keybinds. So you can use your own keybinds. If there's not something set in game, we will do some modifications to get those things set. So it just gives users more control over what buttons there are. And then beyond that, it's going to be the ability, like Andy said, to customize individual buttons to do different things. I'd say that's one of the main things we're working through. And is there anything else that we're like technically that we're
keybinds is definitely it's both a technical issue for us. People have different binding files and people kind of love the keybinds they've said. I know I've spent way too much time customizing my keybinds in Elite Dangerous, so people get very attached to them. When they don't work, it's kind of confusing. So keybinds is a technical thing we're definitely spending a lot of time on, and that will have benefits for the customization, as Craig said as well. Some of the tech is we're always trying to make things lighter weight and more responsive across the board, and that's the animations and it's the feedback you get when you press a button, and then the translation of the feedback into the game, although that is like it's 2 milliseconds to 4 milliseconds at the moment. It's super, super quick. We do a lot of work. One of the big things we're trying to do is just be faster, honestly, is just make shards faster. We've got a big list of really amazing experiences we want to create for games, even for something like Star Citizen, where we've got some great shards we want to produce that aren't tied directly to gameplay that we would love to get onto sooner. We'd like to create really interesting shards around fleet logistics and fleet commands and crew management, and there's some really cool shards we could produce that don't rely on CIG for gameplay as such. So the ability for us to make shards faster is a big thing that we're paying a lot of attention to right now. We're moving along as much as we've got a really great, and we do have an amazing team.
And
not everyone is working on it.
How big is that team at the moment?
We have 10 this week, and last week we reached 10 people. So, and that's across all the functions. That's a lot front end development and back end, and the host application itself. Craig and I. And technical support and community management. That's across the whole gamut. Not everybody works full time. We're not that big yet. So a lot of those people either work part time or they contract or they kind of work a few hours here and there. But more people means we move faster, but we're spending a lot of time kind of building some of those foundational components so we can move faster in the future. And it's so weird having like the work we're doing on GameGlass and hearing what CIG is doing and going, oh yeah, I get it now. Like we're going to be slower for this period of time so we can be faster later on. And it sucks that you kind of have that delay is there, but it is a thing. It's just investing in that tech so we can go faster in the future is just something we have to do.
Is there anything else that you would like to tell me about what's happening with GameGlass or plans for the future or anything that we haven't already covered?
The only two things that I would like to mention are, as always, just a massive thanks to the community that's helped us get to where we are. We're unique in that we started from Craig's post way back in the day, was straight to the community, and the community got hyped about it, and then they helped us be motivated and energized to take the next step to do crowdfunding on Indiegogo, and they made that Indiegogo campaign successful. And we're incredibly thankful for that. We literally wouldn't be where we are right now. We couldn't do what we're doing if it wasn't for that. So a huge thanks to all of the people in the community that got so excited and have been so passionate and energized and have given us such amazing feedback on what we're building. Seeing that feedback and seeing how people react positively to it, I don't think people quite appreciate how much it helps the team and how much it motivates and energizes us. So thank you for all of that. The second thing is we're running just to celebrate a couple of things. Obviously, we're releasing Elite Dangerous, so we're celebrating that. But we crossed 10,000 users a few days ago. So 10,000 people using GameGlass right now, which is pretty amazing. So we're running a little promo to celebrate that, knocking a bit of a discount off a 12-month Glass Pass. So you can jump on that, get all the shards for all the games, and get it a little bit cheaper. And you'll get all of the Elite Dangerous stuff when it comes out. You'll get the No Man's Sky when it comes out. You'll get the World of Warcraft stuff. You'll get Hyperspace Narwhal. All that stuff you'll get with your Glass Pass. So it's a good chance to lock that in now when it's a bit cheaper.
I'll put all relevant links down below to any promotions or anything that I can find. I did want to pass on that I did get some questions from my my community, which you have 99% answered them. The only other couple of ones have been, tell them, oh, it's great that they've made such a good product, or I love it, and stuff like that. So it's quite a lot of love for GameGlass, and I think it's because I think a lot of other people have tried to do similar things, and I'm not disparaging their attempts or their products at all, but I think you've brought it together in the best way so far by quite a significant magnitude, and your sort of like continued support and plan for GameGlass just fills me full of a lot of joy that it's going to be there for years to come and get better and better and better. And that's sort of like a lot of people that play Star Citizen now and that are very involved with the project now, and that's sort of what they want. They want something that's going to grow with the game and get better and better. And when we have like a released product for Star Citizen, bam, we've got something there.
Well, we appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's why we kind of think of it as well. Like it is, as much as people don't like kind of games as a service, we kind of do see GameGlass as a service, and it should evolve, and it needs to evolve over time because the games that you play evolve as well, and we need to keep up with it.
I think the difference between games as a service and your product, which is a service, is that people don't expect games as a service when they shouldn't be. And this is very transparent about that. Out of curiosity, actually, are you going to have full support for Squadron 42 as well?
Absolutely, yes. Yep. There'll be we've talked about it a little bit internally, but there'll be a really awesome suite of shards for that. We have no idea. Like some of the things will translate really nicely across. Probably flight systems targeting. Chances are a lot of that will translate across. Obviously, we don't have any special access to Squadron 42, but we can pretty much guarantee that you'll have a really nice suite of shards for Squadron 42 as well. Play Hyperspace Narwhal. It's freaking rad.
But it's not out yet.
Soon, very, very soon.